Please, don't take me to social services," begged the lost girl to the millionaire who found her in the dark forest. Sofia's fingers trembled on the wheelchair's wheels. 6:45 in the morning. The kitchen counter stood too high. She couldn't reach the top cabinet where Maria Elena had stored the cereal box last night. "Maria Elena, can you come down? You'll be late for school." No response. Sofia's shoulders tensed. Her wheelchair squeaked against the linoleum floor as she turned toward the stairs. The house felt cold. They'd cut back on heating to save money. "Maria Elena!" Footsteps thumped overhead. Maria Elena appeared at the top of the stairs, her school uniform wrinkled, her dark hair uncombed. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. "Coming, Mom," her voice came out flat. Sofia watched her daughter descend. Maria Elena's shoelaces dragged on each step. The 12-year-old hadn't tied them in weeks. "The cereal's up there." Sofia pointed at the cabinet. I know." Maria Elena grabbed the box. The flakes rattled as she poured them into 2 chip bowls. "We're out of milk." Sofia's stomach clenched. "Since when?" "Yesterday." Maria Elena sat down, crunching the dry cereal. Crumbs scattered on the table. "It's fine. I like it better this way." The lie hung between them. Sofia wheeled closer to the table. Her wheelchair bumped a leg, making the bowls rattle. "Mrs. Reynolds is coming today." Sofia kept her voice steady. "The social worker." Maria Elena's hand froze halfway to her mouth. "Why? Just a routine visit." Another lie. The kitchen clock ticked. 7 o'clock. Sofia watched her daughter push the cereal around the bowl. The school had called 3 times last week about absences. Maria Elena had stayed home to help when Sofia's back pain got bad. The doorbell rang at 9:30. Sofia had just finished struggling into a clean blouse. Her wheelchair left scuff marks on the wall as she maneuvered to the door. Mrs. Reynolds stood on the porch. Gray suit, manila folder, tight smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Ramirez." She stepped in without waiting for an invitation. Her heels clicked on the floor. "I trust you received my messages about Maria Elena's attendance?" "Yes, Sofia wheeled backward to give her space. "There were some difficult days." "My back. Your disability cannot interfere with your daughter's education." Mrs. Reynolds opened her folder. Papers rustled. 5 absences this month alone. "I understand, but... and the house." Mrs. Reynolds walked into the kitchen. Her finger traced a dusty windowsill. "These conditions are concerning." Sofia's hands gripped her wheels until her knuckles went white. "We manage." "Do you?" Mrs. Reynolds leaned against the counter. "A disabled single mother. No steady income except benefits. A 12-year-old acting as a caretaker. She doesn't. The school counselor reports she falls asleep in class. Her grades are dropping." Mrs. Reynolds pulled out a form. Blue ink stark against white paper. "There are options we need to discuss." "Foster placement?" "No." Sofia's voice cracked. "She's my daughter, and it's my job to ensure she receives proper care." Mrs. Reynolds set the form on the table. "I'm making a recommendation for temporary placement. 3 months, minimum." The room tilted. Sofia's chest tightened. "You can't. We can and we will if conditions don't improve dramatically." Mrs. Reynolds clicked her pen. "You have 2 weeks to show significant changes. If not, we proceed with placement." Neither woman heard the soft footsteps on the stairs. Maria Elena stood in the doorway, her school bag clutched to her chest. Her face had gone pale. "You're not taking me away." Her voice shook. "I won't go." Mrs. Reynolds turned. "Maria Elena, this is for your own." "No." The school bag hit the floor. Books spilled out. "You can't make me." "Maria Elena." Sofia reached for her daughter. Her wheelchair wouldn't fit through the doorway. "Please." But Maria Elena had already run. The front door slammed. Through the kitchen window, Sofia watched her daughter sprint toward the forest that bordered their property. Dark clouds gathered overhead. This is exactly what I mean. Mrs. Reynolds gathered her papers. She needs structure, stability. Sofia stared at the forest's edge where her daughter had disappeared. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The first drops of rain hit the window. 2 weeks. Mrs. Reynolds walked to the door. I suggest you start making arrangements. The door closed. Sofia sat alone in her wheelchair. The kitchen clock ticked. Rain pelted the windows. Her daughter was out there, running into the forest. And Sofia couldn't follow. She wheeled to the phone. Her hand shook as she dialed emergency services. The storm grew louder. Darkness crept across the sky. In the forest, Maria Elena ran until her legs burned. Branches whipped her face. She tripped over roots, got up, ran again. Her mother's voice echoed in her head from years ago. Your father left when he found out I was pregnant. He couldn't handle it. Rain soaked through her uniform. Thunder cracked overhead. Maria Elena ran deeper into the trees until she didn't recognize anything, until she was lost. The forest grew darker. She couldn't tell which way led home, which way led to her mother, sitting alone in that wheelchair, probably crying by now. Maria Elena huddled under a tree. Rain dripped down her neck. Her shoulders shook with sobs. I'm sorry, Mom, she whispered. I'm sorry. Lightning flashed. In its brief light, the trees looked like monsters reaching for her. Maria Elena pulled her knees to her chest and cried harder. She had run away from the social worker, but now she was lost. Really lost. The rain fell harder. Night approached. And somewhere back home, her mother sat helpless in her wheelchair, unable to come searching for her daughter, who had run away into the darkness of the forest. The rain turned Maria Elena's uniform into a heavy, cold weight. Her teeth chattered. She couldn't tell if 10 minutes or an hour had passed since she'd run into the forest. The tree bark dug into her back as she huddled against its trunk. Another lightning flash lit up the forest. The shadows jumped. In that brief moment, nothing looked familiar. Think, she whispered to herself. Her voice sounded small under the storm. Think. She stood up. Her legs wobbled. Water dripped from her hair into her eyes. She had run straight ahead when she left home. Logic said she should just turn around and walk back. But which way was back? The trees looked the same in every direction. Tall, dark, threatening. Her mother's warnings about the forest played in her head. Never go in alone, Sofia had said. People get lost, they get hurt. Maria Elena took a step. Her shoe squelched in the mud. Another step. A branch cracked under her foot. Mom, she called out, knowing it was useless. Her mother couldn't come looking for her. Anyone? The wind picked up. Branches creaked overhead. She started walking faster, then running again. Her foot caught on a root. She fell hard. Pain shot through her hands as they hit the ground. When she pushed herself up, her palms were scratched and muddy. Her knees stung where she'd torn her uniform. Help. The word came out as a sob. Please, somebody help. Back at the house, Sofia sat by the phone. She had called the police 3 times. Each time they said the same thing. We have patrols looking, ma'am. The storm is making it difficult. Please stay calm. Stay calm. Sofia's hands clenched into fists. Her daughter was out there alone, and she was stuck here. Useless. She wheeled to the window again. Rain streamed down the glass. The forest was a dark wall beyond their yard. Maria Elena was in there somewhere, scared, alone, running from the threat of being taken away. Sofia's phone rang. Her heart jumped. Hello, did you find her? Mrs. Ramirez. It was Mars Reynolds. I've been informed about Maria Elena's situation. This kind of behavior. Sofia hung up. The phone rang again immediately. She unplugged it. Thunder boomed overhead. The lights flickered. Sofia wheeled back and forth between the window and the door. Wheels left wet tracks on the floor. In the forest, Maria Elena had lost all sense of direction. Every tree looked like every other tree. The rain fell so hard she could barely see. She tripped again. This time she didn't get up right away. Mud soaked through her uniform. Her whole body shook with cold. "I want to go home," she whispered. "Please, I just want to go home." A sound cut through the rain. A car engine, somewhere in the distance. Maria Elena's head snapped up. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. "Never talk to strangers. Never get in a car with someone you don't know. Some people pretend to help, but they want to hurt you." The engine sound grew louder. Maria Elena saw lights through the trees. They moved along what must be the road that ran past the forest. She stood up. Her legs shook. The lights meant people. People meant help. But her mother's warnings, "Better lost than taken," Sofia always said. But she was already lost. And cold. And scared. The lights moved closer. Maria Elena stumbled toward them. Branches scratched her face. She pushed through wet bush. The lights grew brighter. Her foot slipped on wet leaves. She fell again, rolling down a small slope. When she stopped, she lay still, trying to catch her breath. The car engine was very close now. Headlights swept through the trees. Maria Elena saw her shadow stretch out in front of her, then disappear as the lights passed. "Wait," she croaked. Her voice was too weak. "Please wait." She forced herself up. Pain shot through her ankle. She must have twisted it in the fall. She limped toward where she'd seen the lights. Through the trees, she saw the road. Wet asphalt gleamed in another flash of lightning. The car's red taillights were moving away. "Stop!" This time she screamed it. "Please stop!" The taillights grew smaller. Maria Elena limped faster. Her ankle throbbed. She had to reach the road before the car disappeared. She broke through the last line of trees. Rain pelted her face. The car was almost gone. "Help me!" She waved her arms. "Please!" The taillights grew brighter. The car was stopping. Maria Elena's heart pounded. Her mother's warning screamed in her head. Never trust strangers. Never get in their cars. The vehicle backed up slowly. It was big, expensive looking. The windows were tinted dark. Maria Elena took a step back toward the trees. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe she should run. The car stopped. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out into the rain, tall, well-dressed. He held up his hands like he was trying not to scare her. "Are you all right?" His voice was deep but gentle. "What are you doing out here?" Maria Elena's ankle throbbed. She swayed on her feet. The man took a step toward her. "Don't come closer," her voice cracked. "I'll run." He stopped. "You're hurt. Let me help you. Are you with social services?" The words tumbled out. "Please don't take me to them. Please." The man's face changed. Recognition flickered in his eyes. "What's your name?" he asked. Maria Elena hesitated. Another lightning flash illuminated them both. The man's eyes widened. "Sofia," he whispered. "You're Sofia Ramirez's daughter." Maria Elena's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the wet road. How did this stranger know her mother's name? The man walked closer, slower now. Rain dripped from his expensive suit. "My name is Ricardo Mendes," he said. I knew your mother a long time ago." Maria Elena stared up at him. The name meant nothing to her, but he knew her mother. And right now, lost in the dark and rain, that was enough to make her start crying again. Ricardo Mendes gripped his steering wheel tighter. The girl sat shivering in his passenger seat, her wet uniform dripping on the leather. She hadn't spoken since he'd helped her up from the road. His headlights cut through the rain. The windshield wipers thumped back and forth. "Your mother," he said. "Does she know where you are?" Maria Elena hugged herself tighter. "No, The word came out small. Broken. Ricardo glanced at her again. In the dim light, he saw Sofia's features in the girl's face. The same determined chin. The same expressive eyes. Why were you in the forest? They want to take me away. Maria Elena's voice cracked. Social services. They say Mom can't take care of me because of her wheelchair. Maria Elena's head snapped toward him. How do you know about that? Ricardo's hands tightened on the wheel until his knuckles went white. The accident played in his mind. 7 years ago, his company's factory floor, the safety rail that hadn't been properly maintained. I owned the factory where she worked, he said. The words tasted bitter. Where she got hurt. Silence filled the car. Rain drummed on the roof. Maria Elena shifted away from him, pressing against the door. You're the one who fired her. I didn't. Ricardo stopped. Started again. It was complicated. Mom couldn't work anymore. We almost lost our house. The company paid compensation. It wasn't enough. Maria Elena's voice rose. Mom can't reach the cabinets. Can't go upstairs. Can't come looking for me when I'm lost in the forest. Her words hit him like punches. Ricardo pulled the car over. The engine idled. I'm sorry, he said. I should have done more. Maria Elena wiped her eyes with her wet sleeve. It didn't help. Are you going to take me to social services? No. Ricardo turned to face her. I'm taking you home. Why should I trust you? Because I owe your mother. He put the car in drive. I owe her more than I can ever repay. They drove in silence. Maria Elena gave short directions. Left here, right at the stop sign. The modest house came into view. Police cars sat in the driveway, their lights flashing red and blue in the rain. A small crowd of neighbors stood under umbrellas. Mom's probably really scared, Maria Elena whispered. Ricardo parked behind the police cars. Before he could speak, Maria Elena was out the door, running toward the house. Mom, she shouted. Mom, I'm here. The front door flew open. Sofia sat in her wheelchair, hands gripping the wheels. Her face crumpled when she saw her daughter, Maria Elena. She wheeled forward onto the wet porch. Oh God, Maria Elena. The girl ran up the ramp. She fell into her mother's lap, sobbing. Sofia's arms wrapped around her, holding tight. I'm sorry, Maria Elena cried. I'm so sorry, Mom. I was scared. They want to take me away. I don't want to go. Sofia stroked her wet hair. You're home now. You're safe. Ricardo stepped out of his car. The rain soaked through his suit jacket. He walked slowly toward the porch. Sofia looked up. Her body went rigid. Maria Elena felt her mother's arms tighten. Ricardo. Sofia's voice was ice. What are you doing here? I found her on the road. He stopped at the bottom of the ramp. By the forest, a police officer approached. Mrs. Ramirez? We need to get a statement from your daughter. Can it wait? Sofia pulled Maria Elena closer. She's cold, wet. It's procedure, ma'am. Ricardo cleared his throat. I can give a statement. I found her. Let them get inside, get warm. Sofia's eyes narrowed. But Maria Elena was shivering harder now. Her clothes dripped on the porch boards. Fine. Sofia released her daughter. Go change, sweetheart. I'll make hot chocolate. Maria Elena stood up. She looked between her mother and Ricardo, then hurried inside. Sofia wheeled back from the doorway. You should come in, she said to Ricardo. We need to talk. The words weren't friendly. Ricardo nodded anyway. He followed her into the house, ducking to clear the low doorframe. The kitchen was small, clean but worn. Sofia wheeled to the stove where a kettle sat. I can't reach the cups, she said flatly. Top cabinet on the left. Ricardo got them down. 3 mugs, all chipped. He set them on the counter while Sofia measured cocoa powder. The social workers want to take her, Sofia said. Her voice was tight. Because of this, she tapped her wheelchair. Because of what happened at your factory? I know. Ricardo stared at the mugs. She told me. Did she tell you how we survive on disability payments? How she misses school sometimes because I need help. How, Mom? Maria Elena stood in the doorway. She'd changed into dry clothes. Her hair hung in wet strings. Are you mad? Sofia's face softened. No, baby. Not at you. Never at you. Here. Ricardo poured hot water into the mugs. Let's all sit down. They gathered around the kitchen table. Maria Elena sat close to her mother. Ricardo took the chair furthest away. Thunder still rumbled outside, but softer now. The storm was passing. Maria Elena wrapped her hands around her mug. I saw the papers, she said quietly. The ones Mrs. Reynolds brought. About foster care. Sofia reached for her daughter's hand. We'll figure something out. When? Maria Elena's voice broke. They're coming back in 2 weeks. They'll take me away. Ricardo set his mug down. The sound was loud in the small kitchen. Maybe, he said slowly. I can help. Sofia's head snapped up. We don't need your charity. Not charity. Ricardo met her eyes. A chance to make things right. Maria Elena looked between them. The kitchen clock ticked. Outside, a police car pulled away, its lights still flashing in the rain. Ricardo stared into his cocoa. The memory hit him like a physical blow. Sofia, 7 years younger, walking the factory floor, her clipboard in hand. Her safety concerns ignored. The rails loose, she'd reported. Section B, near the loading dock. File the paperwork, they told her. Maintenance will get to it. They never did. Mr. Mendes? Maria Elena's voice pulled him back. Are you okay? He looked up. The girl watched him with her mother's eyes. Eyes that had seen too much pain. Call me Ricardo. He set his mug down. Your mother worked quality control at my factory. She was good at her job. Very good. Until the accident. Sofia cut in. Her fingers tightened around her mug. Until I fell. Mom never talks about it, Maria Elena said quietly. Because it doesn't matter anymore. Sofia wheeled back from the table. What matters is now. Today. And today, we don't need... I'm not offering money. Ricardo's voice was firm. I'm offering a job. The kitchen went silent. Rain pattered against the windows. Sofia's wheelchair squeaked as she turned to face him. A job? Her laugh was bitter. In case you haven't noticed, I can't exactly walk the factory floor anymore. Not at the factory. Ricardo pulled out his phone, opened his calendar. My company's grown. We need someone to review safety protocols. Someone who knows firsthand why they matter. Maria Elena sat up straighter. You mean Mom could work from home? Maria Elena, don't? Sofia's voice sharpened. Don't get your hopes up. Full benefits, Ricardo continued. Medical, dental, work from home with flexible hours. Occasional video meetings. Why? Sofia's question cut through the air. Why now? After 7 years? Ricardo set his phone down. The truth stuck in his throat. I saw the accident report. Last month, it had been filed wrong, hidden. He met Sofia's eyes. Someone covered it up. Your warnings about the rail, the maintenance requests, all buried. Sofia's hands began to shake. Maria Elena reached for her mother's arm. Mom? I knew it. Sofia's voice was barely a whisper. I knew I'd reported it. They said I hadn't. That it was my fault for being careless. It wasn't. Ricardo's chest felt tight. I should have investigated deeper. Should have asked more questions. But you didn't. Sofia's words were ice. You let them push me out. With a settlement that barely covered the medical bills. Maria Elena looked between them. Her shoulders tensed. Are you going to fight? The question hung in the air. Simple, direct. The way only a child could ask it. Sofia deflated first. Her anger drained, leaving exhaustion. No, baby, She touched her daughter's hand. Fighting's what got us here. Running's what got us here. Ricardo pulled a business card from his wallet. Set it on the table. The job is real, he said. Take it or not. Either way, I'll make a call about the social workers. My lawyers? No. Sofia's voice was firm. No lawyers. No favors. If I take this job, it's because I earned it. Because I'm qualified. You are. Ricardo stood up, more than qualified. Thunder rumbled again, far away now. Maria Elena yawned. The adrenaline crash hit her visibly. You should sleep, Sofia said softly. It's been a long day. But Maria Elena fought another yawn. What about the job? What about Mrs. Reynolds? Go to bed. Sofia squeezed her hand. Let me handle this. Maria Elena stood slowly. She looked at Ricardo. Thank you, she said, for finding me, for bringing me home. She hugged her mother, then disappeared down the hall. Her footsteps creaked on the stairs. Sofia wheeled to the sink, put her mug in. The ceramic clinked against metal. She misses school because I can't reach things, she said quietly. Because some days, the pain is too bad to get out of bed. Because this chair, she stopped, breathed. She deserves better. Then let me help. Ricardo stepped closer. Not for you, not for my conscience. For her. Sofia turned her chair, faced him fully. The job. Tell me exactly what it involves. Ricardo pulled out his phone again, opened his email. Safety protocol review, training material development. You'd work with our compliance team remotely. Video calls twice a week. Reports submitted online. Salary? He named a figure. Sofia's hands gripped her wheels. That's too much. It's market rate. Ricardo's voice was firm. For someone with your experience. Sofia wheeled to the window, stared out at the wet darkness. If I take it, she said slowly, things change on my terms. No charity. No special treatment. Agreed. And Maria Elena stays with me. Of course. Sofia turned back. Her eyes were hard. One more thing. She wheeled closer. You look me in the eye and swear you're not doing this out of pity. Ricardo met her gaze. Held it. I'm doing it because 7 years ago, I failed as a CEO. Failed to protect my workers. Failed to investigate when I should have. He stepped back. The pity here isn't for you, Sofia. It's for who I was then. Sofia stared at him for a long moment. The kitchen clock ticked. Upstairs, they heard Maria Elena's door close. Finally, Sofia nodded. Email me the contract, she said. I'll review it tomorrow. I'll have it sent first thing. Ricardo moved toward the door. Stopped. Sofia? What? She's a good kid. He gestured upstairs. You did that. Not despite the chair. Because of who you are. Sofia's throat worked. She turned away. Good night, Ricardo. He left quietly. His car engine started outside. The sound faded into the rain. Sofia sat alone in her kitchen. The business card still lay on the table. She picked it up. Ran her fingers over the embossed letters. Upstairs, Maria Elena's floor creaked. Sofia could picture her daughter, probably not sleeping, probably worried still. She looked at the card again, at the phone number that could change their lives. For her, she whispered. Everything for her. The morning sun hit the puddles in Sofia's driveway. Maria Elena sat at the kitchen table, actually eating breakfast. Real breakfast, with milk they could now afford. Mom? She pushed her cereal around. Are you really starting work today? Sofia wheeled to the table. Her new laptop sat closed beside her coffee cup. Ricardo had delivered it personally yesterday. Just training videos today. Sofia took a sip of coffee, learning the systems. But you'll be here? Maria Elena's voice was small. When I get home from school. Right here. Sofia reached for her daughter's hand. I promised, remember? No more missing school to help me. A car horn beeped outside. Maria Elena jumped. That's Jenny's mom. She grabbed her backpack. She said she can drive me every day now. Tell her thank you. Sofia squeezed her daughter's hand. Have a good day? Maria Elena hugged her mother hard. Ran for the door. Stopped. You'll call if you need anything? Go to school, Sofia smiled. I can handle this. The door closed. Through the window, Sofia watched her daughter climb into the neighbor's minivan. The car pulled away. Sofia opened the laptop. The screen lit up. Her new email inbox showed one message. Welcome to your first day. Video conference at 10 am. She glanced at the clock. 8:30. Time to get ready. The doorbell rang. Sofia's hands froze on the keyboard. Mrs. Ramirez? Mrs. Reynolds' voice came through the door. Mandatory follow-up visit. Sofia's throat tightened. She wheeled to the door. Opened it. Mrs. Reynolds stood on the porch. Same gray suit. Same manila folder. May I come in? Sofia backed her chair up. Mrs. Reynolds stepped inside. Her eyes swept the room. I see some improvements. She made a note. New laptop? For work, single quote, Sofia wheeled to the kitchen table. I started a new job today. Mrs. Reynolds raised an eyebrow. What kind of work? Safety compliance review. Remote position. Full benefits. With? Mendes Industries. Mrs. Reynolds' pen stopped moving. She looked up. The same company where you were injured. Yes, and this job. Mrs. Reynolds tapped her pen. It just happened to appear right after your daughter ran away? Sofia met her eyes. The job is real. The salary is real. Would you like to see the contract? Mrs. Reynolds held her gaze, finally nodded. Yes, I would. Sofia opened a drawer, pulled out the paperwork, handed it over. Mrs. Reynolds read slowly, made notes, looked up. This is substantial. I'm qualified. And Maria Elena goes to school every day. Jenny Martinez's mother drives her. Mrs. Reynolds made another note. The house still needs work. Contractors coming next week. Sofia pointed to more papers. Bathroom modifications. Kitchen remodel. All approved by the building department. Paid for by? My salary. Sofia's voice hardened. My work. Marais. Reynolds closed her folder. Stood up. I'll be back in 1 week. Fine. The door closed behind her. Sofia let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maria Elena. Made it to school. Love you, Mom. Sofia smiled. Texted back. Love you too. See you after school. She wheeled back to the laptop. Opened the training videos. Started to work. The morning passed quickly. At 10, she joined her first video call. Faces appeared on screen. Professional, welcoming. Welcome to the team, Sofia. She straightened in her chair, smiled. Thank you. I'm ready to begin. The day flew by. Sofia barely noticed the time until she heard a key in the lock. Maria Elena burst in, grinning. Mom, I got an A on my math test. Sofia saved her work. Closed the laptop. That's wonderful. Tell me everything. Maria Elena dropped her backpack, pulled out the test paper. And Jenny invited me to her birthday party. Can I go? Please? Sofia watched her daughter's excited face, saw the shadows finally lifting. Of course you can. Really? Maria Elena hugged her. Things are getting better, aren't we? Sofia hugged back. Tight. Yes, baby. They are. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows. Sofia helped with homework, made dinner. Real dinner, not just sandwiches. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ricardo. How was the first day? She stared at the message. Finally typed. Good. Thank you. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Social worker visit went okay? Sofia glanced at Maria Elena, doing homework at the table. We handled it. Need anything? No. She paused. Added. But thank you. The dots appeared one last time. "You earned this, Sofia. All of it." She set the phone down, watched her daughter work. "Mom?" Maria Elena looked up. "Can you help me with this problem?" "Always." Sofia wheeled closer. "Show me." The evening passed normally, peacefully. When Maria Elena went up to bed, she hugged her mother extra long. "I'm glad you're my mom," she whispered. Sofia's eyes stung. "I'm glad you're my daughter." Later, alone in the quiet house, Sofia opened her laptop again, looked at her work. Her real work. Her phone lit up. One more text from Ricardo. "Team meeting tomorrow. 9 a.m. ready? Ready?" Sofia typed back, "Ready." She closed the phone, wheeled to the window. The night was clear now. Stars shone where storm clouds had been. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more work, more proving herself. But tonight, her daughter slept peacefully upstairs. Tonight, they were together. Tonight, they were safe. And tomorrow? Tomorrow they would face it, together. Sofia wheeled back to her laptop, opened the safety protocols, started reading. This was her chance, their chance. She wouldn't waste it. The contractors arrived early Monday morning. Their trucks filled the driveway. The sound of power tools echoed through the house. Sofia wheeled through the chaos, directing traffic. "The grab bars go there," she pointed. "The counters need to be lower. The cabinets, Mrs. Ramirez." A worker held up plans. "The ramp specifications from Maria Mendes." "No." Sofia took the papers, the original plans. "The ones I approved." The worker hesitated. "But Mendes said." "I said no." Sofia's voice was firm. "My house. My specifications." Her phone buzzed. Ricardo's name flashed on screen. The contractors called. His text read. The upgraded plans. Sofia typed back, "My house. My choices." 3 dots appeared. "The better materials wouldn't cost you anything." "That's not the point." A pause. "Then, what is the point?" Sofia stared at her phone. Started to type. Stopped. Started again. "My dignity isn't for sale." No response. Sofia put the phone down. Wheeled back to the contractors. "The original plans," she repeated. Nothing more. They worked through the morning. Sofia split her time between supervising and her laptop, reviewing safety protocols between construction decisions. At 2, her phone buzzed again. A text from Maria Elena. "Can Jenny come over after school?" Sofia looked around the construction mess, smiled. "Of course. Even with the workers there? Even then, this is your home. Be proud of it." 3 hearts appeared in response. Sofia wheeled to the kitchen. The workers had finished lowering the counters. She reached up. Her hand touched the sink without straining. Tears pricked her eyes. She blinked them away. The doorbell rang. Mrs. Reynolds stood on the porch. Again. "Progress check," she said, stepping inside. Sofia gestured at the work in progress. As you can see, Mrs. Reynolds walked through the house, made notes, stopped at Sofia's laptop. "Work going well?" "Yes." "And Maria Elena?" "Perfect attendance." "Ask her teachers." "I did." Mrs. Reynolds checked her papers. "They report improvement." "Significant improvement." Sofia waited. "She's happier," Mrs. Reynolds continued. "More focused. Less tired." "Because she can be a child again," Sofia said quietly. "Not my caretaker." Mrs. Reynolds made another note. "These changes," she gestured at the construction. "They're permanent?" "Yes." "And the job?" "Also permanent." Mrs. Reynolds closed her folder. "I'll need to make one more home visit. Next week. Final evaluation." Sofia nodded. "We'll be ready." The front door opened. Maria Elena's voice filled the house. "Mom, Jenny's here. Can we have snacks?" Mrs. Reynolds watched as 2 girls burst in. Watch Maria Elena hug her mother. Watch Sofia reach the new lower cabinets easily. Here you go, girls. Sofia handed them cookies. Homework first. Thanks, Mom. Maria Elena grabbed Jenny's hand. Come on, we can study in my room. They thundered upstairs. Mrs. Reynolds turned to Sofia. She's thriving. She's home. Sofia met her eyes. Where she belongs. Mrs. Reynolds nodded once, left quietly. The afternoon passed in a blur of construction noise and teenage giggles from upstairs. At 5, Jenny's mother picked her up. Thanks, Mrs. Ramirez. Jenny waved. See you tomorrow, Maria Elena. The door closed. Maria Elena hugged her mother. Jenny says our house looks awesome now. It does, doesn't it? The counters are perfect. You can reach everything. Sofia smiled. Want to help make dinner? For real this time? They cooked together. Sofia reached counters, opened cabinets, moved freely in her wheelchair through the modified kitchen. Her phone buzzed. Ricardo again. The contractor said you refused the upgrades. Sofia dried her hands. Typed, I refuse charity. Not help. There's a difference? A big one. The dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm learning that, he finally wrote. From you. Sofia put the phone down. Turned to her daughter. Hand me that pan? Maria Elena reached up. Stopped. No, Mom. You can get it now. Single quote. Sofia wheeled forward. Reached up. The pan handle met her fingers perfectly. See? Maria Elena beamed. You don't need me to help anymore. I'll always need you, Sofia said softly. Just not to be my caregiver. They cooked, talked, laughed. The construction mess faded into the background. Later, after Maria Elena went up to bed, Sofia's phone lit up one last time. Team presentation tomorrow. Ricardo's message read. Ready? Sofia looked around her modified kitchen. Her accessible home. Her real home. More than ready. Single quotes. She wheeled to her laptop. Opened her presentation. The words glowed on screen. Safety protocol review. Ensuring every worker goes home. Her fingers touched the keyboard. Started typing. Tomorrow she'd present to the team. Tomorrow she'd prove herself again. But tonight? Tonight she was just a mother. In her own home. Taking care of her own daughter. On her own terms. The way it should be. The way it would stay. The video conference screen filled with faces. Sofia adjusted her laptop camera. Straightened her blouse. The safety protocols in Section B, she began, are outdated. Dangerously outdated. Silence on the call. She continued. I've highlighted key areas for immediate revision. Starting with loading dock procedures. A hand raised on screen. An executive in a suit. These changes will be expensive. Not as expensive as a lawsuit, Sofia replied. Not as expensive as a life. Her voice didn't waver. Her wheelchair sat just out of camera view. Page 4, she continued. The maintenance schedule. They listened. Asked questions. Took notes. At the end, Ricardo's face appeared in the main window. Thank you, Sofia. Excellent work. Implement the changes immediately. The call ended. Sofia sat back, let out a breath. Her phone buzzed. Board meeting next week, Ricardo's text read. Present in person? Sofia's hands froze over the phone. The office isn't wheelchair accessible. 3 dots. Then, it will be by next week. Sofia stared at the message. Typed. Don't change your building for me. Not for you. For any employee who might need it. That's the point, isn't it? Sofia smiled slightly. Replied, now you're learning. The doorbell rang. Sofia wheeled to answer it. Mrs. Reynolds stood there. Last visit. Come in, Sofia said. The social worker walked through the finished house. Noted the accessible bathroom. The modified kitchen. The new ramps. Everything's up to code, Sofia said. Inspected and approved. Mrs. Reynolds made notes. checked her papers. And work? Sofia gestured to her laptop. Just finished a company-wide presentation. Want to see the slides? Mrs. Reynolds sat down, read through Sofia's work, looked up. This is impressive. It's necessary, Sofia corrected. It's right. And Maria Elena? Ask her yourself. Sofia checked the time. She'd be home from school in 10 minutes. They waited. The front door opened right on schedule. Mom, I got chosen for the science fair team. Maria Elena burst in. Stopped when she saw Mrs. Reynolds. Oh, hello. Tell me about school, Mrs. Reynolds said. Maria Elena's chin lifted. I'm getting all A's and B's now. I joined the science club. Jenny and I study together every day. And at home? Maria Elena looked at her mother, smiled. Mom doesn't need my help anymore. I mean, she still lets me help cook sometimes. But because I want to, not because she can't reach things. Mrs. Reynolds made one final note, closed her folder. I'll be submitting my report today. Sofia waited. The case will be closed, Mrs. Reynolds continued. No further action needed. Maria Elena squealed, hugged her mother. Mrs. Reynolds stood. You've done well, Mrs. Ramirez. Both of you. She left quietly. Maria Elena bounced on her toes. They're not taking me away? Never. Sofia hugged her daughter. Never. Her phone buzzed. Ricardo again. How'd the final visit go? Sofia typed with one hand, kept hugging Maria Elena with the other. Case closed. We did it. You did it, he corrected. See you at the board meeting? Sofia looked at her daughter's happy face. Yes, but I'm bringing someone with me. Who? My inspiration. Maria Elena read the messages over her shoulder. Really? I can come? If you want to? Sofia smiled. Show them what we're fighting for? Fighting? Working for, Sofia corrected. To make things better. For everyone. Her phone buzzed again. Conference room will be ready, Ricardo wrote. Fully accessible. Good, Sofia replied, because this is just the beginning. She closed her phone, turned to her daughter. Homework? Already did it at Jenny's. Maria Elena pulled out her science fair notes. Want to help me practice my presentation? They worked together at the kitchen table. Sofia reached for reference books without struggling, moved around freely. The sun set outside. Sofia's phone stayed quiet. She didn't need more messages. Didn't need more approval. The proof was here, in this kitchen, in her daughter's smile, in the way they could finally just be mother and daughter. Nothing more, nothing less, just family. Later, after Maria Elena went to bed, Sofia opened her laptop again, started working on her board presentation. Her fingers flew over the keys. Safety isn't a cost, it's an investment. In our workers, in their families, in our future. She glanced at the family photo on her desk. Her and Maria Elena smiling. Added one more line. Because everyone deserves to go home at night. To the people who need them. The cursor blinked. Sofia sat back. Next week, she'd face the board, would show them what real change looked like. But tonight? Tonight she was home. Really home. In a house that worked for her. With a daughter who could just be a daughter. Sofia saved her work, closed the laptop. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight? Tonight, they had won. And it was enough. Maria Elena straightened her new dress. Checked her reflection in the hallway mirror. Mom, are you ready? Sofia wheeled out of her bedroom. She wore a crisp business suit. Her hair was neatly styled. Ready. She checked her watch. Ricardo's driver should be here soon. I'm nervous. Maria Elena tugged at her dress. What if I say something wrong? You'll be perfect. Sofia took her daughter's hand. Just be yourself. A car horn beeped outside. Black luxury sedan. Uniformed driver. Mrs. Ramirez? The driver opened the back door. A ramp slid out smoothly. Mr. Mendes sends his apologies. Emergency meeting delayed him. He'll meet you at the office. Sofia wheeled up the ramp easily. Maria Elena climbed in beside her. The drive was quiet. Maria Elena stared out the window at the gleaming office buildings downtown. Is that where you used to work? She pointed at a factory in the distance. Yes. Sofia's voice was soft. Before the accident. And now you make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. Sofia squeezed her daughter's hand. Exactly. Single quotes. The car stopped at a modern glass building. The driver helped with the ramp again. Ricardo waited in the lobby. His eyes widened at Maria Elena's presence. Welcome to Mendes Industries. He smiled. Both of you. The elevator was wide, accessible, the buttons at wheelchair height. The whole building's been modified, Ricardo said. Your mother's recommendations, all of them? Maria Elena asked. Every single one. The elevator opened onto an executive floor. A large conference room waited. Board members filled the seats. Suits, ties, serious faces. Sofia wheeled to the front. Maria Elena stood beside her. This is my daughter, Sofia began. The reason I'm here today. Silence. All eyes on them. 7 years ago, I reported a safety violation, a loose rail. The report was ignored. Sofia's voice carried clear. I fell, lost the use of my legs, almost lost my daughter to social services. The board members shifted uncomfortably, but this isn't about blame. Sofia pulled up her presentation. It's about change. Real change. The slides appeared on screen. Safety protocols, accessibility modifications, training programs. Every worker has someone waiting at home, Sofia continued. Someone who needs them whole, safe. She gestured to Maria Elena. My daughter used to miss school to help me reach high cabinets, to help me cook, to be my caretaker. Maria Elena stepped forward. But now I don't have to, she said clearly, because someone finally listened, finally made changes. The boardroom stayed silent. These modifications? Sofia gestured at the accessible building. They're not expensive, not compared to lawsuits, to lost lives, to broken families. She pulled up the cost analysis, the projections, the benefits. This isn't charity, she finished. This is business. Smart business. Ricardo stood up. The board will vote now. He looked at Sofia. Wait outside? Sofia nodded, wheeled out with Maria Elena. They sat in the hallway, waited. Did I do okay? Maria Elena whispered. Perfect. Sofia hugged her. Absolutely perfect. The door opened. Ricardo gestured them back in. The vote was unanimous, he announced. All changes approved. Full budget allocated. The board members stood, applauded. And one more thing. Ricardo handed Sofia an envelope. Your new position, Director of Safety and Accessibility. Sofia opened it. Read slowly. This is, she looked up. This is real? Very real. Ricardo smiled. You've earned it. Maria Elena hugged her mother. See? You did it. We did it, Sofia corrected. Together. The board filed out. Shook hands. Congratulated her. Finally, just the three of them remained. Thank you, Sofia said quietly. Don't. Ricardo held up a hand. This isn't a favor. It's recognition of your work, your expertise. Single quotes. Maria Elena bounced on her toes. Can we celebrate, please? Sofia laughed. What did you have in mind? Ice cream? Jenny's dad owns that shop downtown. Ice cream it is. Sofia turned to Ricardo. Would you like to join us? He hesitated. I wouldn't want to intrude. You're not, Maria Elena said firmly. You're family now. Kind of. Ricardo's eyes softened. Ice cream sounds perfect. They left together. The sun bright overhead. In the ice cream shop, Maria Elena chatted happily. About school, the science fair, her friends. Sofia watched her daughter, saw the shadows gone from her eyes. The worry lines erased. Her phone buzzed. A text from Emira's Reynolds. Case officially closed. Congratulations, Director Ramirez. Sofia smiled. Type back. Thank you for pushing us to be better. She put her phone away, turned to her daughter. More sprinkles? Maria Elena grinned. Always more sprinkles. Ricardo watched them, smiled slightly. You know, he said quietly, you've changed the company more in 2 months than I did in 10 years. Because I lived it, Sofia replied. The good, the bad, the fight to make it right, and now. Sofia looked at her daughter. Happy, safe, whole. Now we make sure no one else has to fight so hard. Maria Elena raised her ice cream cone. To Mom, the new director. They laughed, celebrated, together. Later, the car dropped them at home. Their home, modified, accessible, perfect. Mom? Maria Elena hugged her before bed. I'm proud of you. Sofia hugged back, hard. I'm proud of us. She wheeled to her office, her new laptop open. Work waiting, but good work. Right work. Work that would make a difference. Sofia began to type. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new changes, new battles to fight. But tonight? Tonight they were winners, all of them. 3 months passed in a blur of change. Sofia rolled into her home office, fresh coffee in hand. Her morning routine smooth now, easy. Her computer screen filled with emails, project updates, success stories. A knock at her office door. Mom? Maria Elena poked her head in. Can you come see something? Sofia followed her daughter to the kitchen. A paper hung on the fridge, red A+ circled at the top. My science fair project, Maria Elena beamed. We won first place. The accessibility study? Sofia wheeled closer. Yeah, the judges loved it. Said it could help lots of people. Sofia read the title, Making Spaces Work for Everyone. A study in universal design. Her throat tightened. You did this, Maria Elena said quietly. You showed me how to make things better. The doorbell rang. Ricardo stood on the porch, suit pressed, files in hand. Ready for the quarterly review? Sofia gestured him in. Maria Elena grabbed her backpack. Jenny's mom is here. Study group today. She hugged her mother, waved to Ricardo. See you at dinner? 6 o'clock, Sofia confirmed. Don't be late. The door closed. Ricardo sat at the kitchen table. She's different, he said. Happier. We both are. Sofia poured coffee. The numbers? Ricardo opened his files. Accident rates down 60%. Productivity up. Employee retention at record levels. And the accessibility program? 5 more companies adopted our model. Your model, Sofia smiled, opened her laptop. Show me. They worked through the morning. Safety reports, implementation plans, success metrics. Sofia's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Ramirez? This is Tom Wilson, factory floor supervisor. Your new rails saved a life today. She showed Ricardo the message. See, it works. Because of you. He closed his files. The board wants to expand the program. Nationwide. Sofia sat back. That's big? Too big? No. She wheeled to her office, pulled out a folder. I've been working on something. Ricardo read her proposal. Looked up. Training centers? In every major city. Teaching companies how to adapt. How to change. Single quote. Sofia tapped the papers. Real change. Permanent change. The cost is nothing compared to the benefit. She met his eyes. You know that now. Ricardo nodded slowly. When can you start? I already have. She opened her laptop, showed him the presentations, the training materials. Just waiting for approval. You have it. He stood up. Full budget. Full support. Sofia's phone buzzed again. Maria Elena. Can Jenny stay for dinner? Her mom has to work late. Of course, Sofia typed back. Plenty of room. She looked around her kitchen. Her accessible, welcoming kitchen. Stay for dinner? She asked Ricardo. We're celebrating Maria Elena's science fair win. He hesitated. I wouldn't want to impose. You're not. Sofia smiled. You're part of this. All of it. He nodded. I'd like that. They worked through the afternoon. Planning, building, creating change. At 5, Maria Elena burst in with Jenny. Backpacks and laughter. Mom, we got our college brochures today. Sofia's heart jumped. Her baby. Growing up. Show me. They spread the papers on the table. Engineering programs. Architecture schools. I want to design buildings, Maria Elena announced. Like this one. But better. Jenny nodded. I want to help. Make them work for everyone. Sofia watched them plan their futures. Futures built on hope. On change. The doorbell rang again. Mrs. Reynolds stood there. But not for an inspection. I have other families, she said. Other mothers. Fighting the same fights. Sofia understood immediately. Send them to the training center, she said. When it opens, we'll help. We? All of us? Sofia gestured inside. Where Ricardo worked with the girls on their college plans. Where Jenny sketched building designs. Where change lived and breathed. Mrs. Reynolds smiled slightly. You did good, Maria Ramirez. Sofia, she corrected. And we all did good. The evening passed in warmth. Dinner, laughter, plans for the future. Later, after everyone left, Maria Elena hugged her mother. You really changed things, Mom. We changed things, Sofia corrected. By not giving up, she wheeled to the window, looked out at the night sky. The same sky she'd seen through her tears. The night Maria Elena ran away, but different now. Better. Her phone lit up one last time. Ricardo, board meeting tomorrow. New proposals. Sofia smiled. Typed. Ready. Because she was. They all were. Ready for more change. More growth. More hope. She closed her phone. Wheeled to her office. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. New fights. New victories. But tonight? Tonight she was just a mother. Just a worker. Just a person. Making the world better. One change at a time. Sofia opened her laptop. Started typing. The words flowed easy now. Everyone deserves a chance. A space. A place to belong. She glanced at Maria Elena's science fair project. Still hanging proud. Added. And together, we can build it. The cursor blinked. Waiting. But Sofia wasn't waiting anymore. She was doing. Changing. Growing. Living. Tomorrow would come with its own stories. But tonight? Tonight was perfect. Just as it was. Just as they were. Together. If you enjoyed this story, we'd love for you to support us by leaving a like and subscribing to our Slices of Life channel. We'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Which city are you talking about? It's very rewarding for us to provide our followers with an enjoyable moment. We appreciate the unconditional support you show us in every story. Blessings!